Welcome to Nauru. This pebble-shaped country is located in Oceania, and its closest neighbor being Banaba Island, a part of Kiribati, 293 kilometers east. Just like its neighbors, Nauru is tiny, so small in fact that you can drive around the country on its only road in an hour. The country is about 21 square kilometers large, smaller than Qatar's Hamad International Airport. The country is the world's smallest republic, island nation, and Commonwealth member, being the third smallest country in the world, only beating Vatican and Monaco. The island is a raised atoll, just like Niue and Tonga Tapu, the main island of Tonga. Nauru is one of the two countries without a capital, though de facto it would be the Yaren district, where the parliament and the country's only airport is located, having 4 flights a week to Brisbane, Australia. But I bet you wouldn't believe me if I told you that Nauru was the world's richest country in 1968, continuing throughout the 70s. Well, believe it or not, it did. This is a lesson on how to blow all your nation's wealth away. So sit back and relax and let's delve into Nauru. Almost nothing is known about the island's early human colonization, but the first settlers were Micronations, which formed 12 tribes in the 13th century. In 1798, a John Ferran named the island Pleasant Island. And in 1888, Nauru became a colony of Germany, and after the First World War became a mandate of the British. But don't let the small size of Nauru fool you though. This island was the most influential in its region, especially for Australia and New Zealand. And why, you may be asking? Guano. Okay, what's guano? Well, to oversimplify, it's dried up bird crap that is rich in phosphate. Through hundreds of thousands of years of mineralization, Nauru became home to one of the purest deposits of calcium phosphate on Earth, having enough phosphate to fill a line of trucks from Tokyo to New York, bumper to bumper. During German colonial rule, the Pacific Phosphate Company was set up. After World War I, the PPC was taken by London investors and became the British Phosphate Company. During the mandateship, the main goal was to gain Nauru self-governance and attained it on 30th of January 1968. During the colonial era, about 34.5 million tons of phosphate was mined out, about a third of its phosphate deposits. But we are here to look at how Nauru used its resources for the first time after independence. Yes, Nauru had no say. The Nauru Phosphate Company, NPCLOL, replaced the BPC, inheriting a $163 million industry and $111 million in trust fund money. All of this will be in Australian dollars into the currency of Nauru. The founding president, Hammer de Robert, made Nauru somewhat of a capitalist welfare state, where NPC revenue covered government wages. About a sixth of the population worked in the public sector, so Nauruans got used to getting paid for a job they weren't pressured to attend. Well, who were the customers of Nauru's phosphate? Australia and New Zealand. As I said earlier, Nauru was influential. Without Nauruan phosphate, Australia's and New Zealand's agricultural sectors would have never become as big as they are now, thus never becoming first world countries. Well, things are looking good for Nauru. They have so much money that they don't have to grow their own food. Everything is imported. Fishing, which was essential to Nauru, just became a hobby for the average local. Money grew on trees in Nauru. And what did Nauru do with this money? Invest in low-rise government bonds? Hell no, that's for boring people. They went on a whole national shopping spree, starting their own airline. Air Nauru, which was running at a $22 million loss every year, a ferry line that was created throughout the Pacific. At the peak of its wealth, the Nauru Trust Fund owned real estate in Australia, the Philippines, Fiji, Guam, Samoa, the US, the UK, and New Zealand. Though many of these ventures were unsuccessful, in 1980, Nauru lost $3 million by investing into a London musical, which closed several weeks later. Law firm Allens advised Nauru to invest into some dubious bank instruments. Those dubious investments lost Nauru $66 million. The quick growth blinded Nauru from long-term development. So, let's take a trip to Norway. Not literally, I'm too poor for that. But we can always use our imagination. After Norway discovered oil in the 70s, it invested money made from oil into a national retirement fund, where it invested into bonds, stocks, and projects around the world, actually investing half of its portfolio, and since its creation in 1990, it has gradually become the largest pension fund in the world, growing to 1.7 trillion US dollars, or about $300,000 for every Norwegian citizen. Safe to say, Norway is set for the rest of its existence. With these horrible investments, Nauru's investment fund shrunk from $1.2 billion in 1991 to $138 million in 2002. This debacle led to some strange consequences. And for this, we need to look at the average Nauruan. Now, during the rapid growth, Nauru completely stopped making its own food and started importing everything, especially processed foods. This, with the sedentary lifestyle of the average Nauruan, led to the country having a 97% obesity rate, making it the most obese out of any independent country on Earth. So, why did I bring Norway into this? Well, it's 3 words: the resource curse. Norway, as of to date, is one of the few that survived the resource curse. If Nauru followed the Norway model, it would have wealth lasting for generations, with long-term investments instead of impulse buying. The most detrimental part of the resource curse is that a country becomes too reliant on one product, so its other sectors die. And that's what happened to Nauru's agriculture, and why its population is so obese. So, let's skip to the new millennium. As the phosphate deposits in Nauru started drying up in the 1990s, money was running dry, with nearly zero income. There was no taxes, no phosphate, and to add to that, being a welfare state and blowing their money on crappy investments. Nauru was so rich that a police officer bought a Lamborghini and was too fat to get in the car. Yeah, a lot of stupid things happened in Nauru during this period. People went from paying $50 for groceries and not taking the change, and then using money as toilet paper, to going broke. So what did Nauru do as a last-ditch attempt? Offshore licensing. Well, tax fraud. You didn't have to let alone visit the island to set up a bank account. With tens of billions of dollars washing through Nauru, nations got big mad, so they blacklisted Nauru and they were forced to stop. Okay, attempt 2. Being a refugee dump. The Australian government sent money to Nauru to build a detention camp. Well, these had probably the most inhumane conditions on Earth. Yeah, it got closed in 2021. Nauru is now planning to excavate its last deposits of phosphate, though this is not going to fix Nauru's problems. By 2004, its phosphate industry practically died. If Nauru went the Norway model, its national fund would be valued at $80 billion by 2004. Now Nauru has the highest obesity rate, domestic violence, and smoking rate, with about half of the population smoking, the highest rate in the world. It's also the least visited country in the world, and it doesn't help that it's literally the opposite side of the world, or an ocean away from everyone. Nauru now has spike pits left from the phosphate mining and risk of sinking into the ocean. Well, at least they have land. Seems like phosphate has the same effect as oil when it comes to countries. Nauru failed to see forward to the future and bet too much on the possibility of its guano lasting forever. Well, it's too late for Nauru. It should be seen as a lesson for other countries with vast resources to not end up like Nauru.
Imagine an island nation where the typical family of 5 has an income of $100,000 a year without even working, where there aren't taxes or duties, where medical and dental care is free, and even medicine, Band-Aid, and aspirin are dispensed without charge.
Well, this is Nauru, but the future, we can only tell.